Hey there nation, welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and we are back with another edition of Cheap Shots. And on this very special episode of Cheap Shots, we are going to show you how to quickly and cheaply paint up a Celestial Vindicator from the Warhammer Age of Sigmar game. So as you guys have probably noticed on my channel, we've been still quickly adopting this army and using it for our army. So what we're going to be doing today is showing you how we went about painting this guy both very quickly as well as very cheaply for your budget. All you need to do is actually just get a couple of pretty simple and inexpensive painting supplies, as you can see up here in this list. And we'll show you exactly how this got done. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's go and get this tutorial on the roll. Alright, so starting off first with this miniature, the first thing you're going to notice is for the Celestial Vindicators, when it came for Stormcast Eternals, you have this really brilliant sky blue, almost turquoise blue kind of color scheme going on, okay? Now, traditionally, what Games Workshop usually has you do in their tutorials for painting up Celestial Vindicators, that they decide that you should base coat your entire miniature using, what's it called, Macragge Blue Spray, which is a line of spray paints that they carry to, quickly base coat your miniatures with. The only problem is that stuff costs about $20, okay? So you're going to spend $20 just to paint your miniature in that can if you do exactly what they say. A nice substitute to use, especially when using this method, is just buying a can of Krylon Color Master. This is a satin color paint. It's a Satin Island Splash, the name of this color. As you see, it has like a wonderful cerulean sky blue color to it. It's a very nice color, really pops really well. And that's the kind of paint that I use to actually base coat this miniature. It actually cost me about, I think, $3 with taxes. It was around $3 by the time I got done paying for it. I actually went to like a Walmart and actually used that. So the first thing I did is I base sprayed the entire miniature with that Satin Island Splash paint. Now the thing is that once you do that, and once you have the undercoat done, you're going to notice there's some sparks and some nooks and crannies within the miniature that will not be hit by the base spray. That's going to be a problem as always, because you're not going to get perfect coverage if you're not using a airbrush to do it. And the nice thing about doing a base sprays, however, is it's a very fast way to paint your miniature really quickly, so that way you can move on to other colors. And to solve that problem, we go to our very next paint. This paint is actually made by a company called Delta Paint. It's a Cermacoat. It's the color is Tahiti Blue is what it's called. I bought this at the local Hobby Lobby in my area, and if you notice, this color blue matches very nice with this Color Master Island Spray paint, and actually it blends very well. Actually, in fact, when I just put one coat of this stuff into the areas that were missed by the spray, it blended in seamlessly. You really couldn't tell a difference, really. So that's a really nice way to doing this. As you can see, there's a lot of blue on this miniature, a lot of turquoise sky blue. So the fastest way to get that done, of course, is just to spray paint them really quick, and then voila, step one for base coating is done. Alright, so once you're done base painting your miniatures, I suggest you do like a squad at a time, just get them all base sprayed with the Satin Island Splash, and then touch it with Tahitian Blue from Delta Paints. After you get done painting their blue armor, a vast majority of the miniature is already done. But as you can see, this miniature also features some accent pieces. I decided to use a prime just because the Liberator Primes actually have a lot of detail on it that requires a further colors. As you can see, we have a leather belt as well as a scabbard for him to keep his daggers in, for his little daggers. We have grips for the weapons as well as his main color to go with as well. We also have this cloth that he's wearing around himself, so he's got like a piece of metal protecting his legs as well as in the back here as well. And he's also got a little bit of parchment coming off here on the left hand side of his body as well. So to do that, we use a couple of paints in order to make sure that happens. The very first color that we actually go with and we start detailing out is, first of all, is the leather bits. And the pieces that are made out of leather, we just use burnt sienna is what I use. It's this one's made by Folk Art. I really like the consistency and the color of it. I got that at the local Hobby Lobby as well. I usually like using apple barrel paints, is the type of paints I like using the most, just because of the color variety. But when it came to burnt sienna, the Folk Art one just had a nicer, richer color in my opinion. So as you can see in this miniature here, I painted up the belts as well as the leather skirt that's on this guy, as well as the back on the bolt on the back there, as you can see there. Painted that in burnt sienna. Very simple color after that. The next big color that we use next is antique white. Antique white I use for all the white parts of the armor as well. So you can see here the lightning bolt on the shield, for example. I use it on the pauldron here on the shoulder. I also used it on the skirt, as you see in the back, the robes, as well as in the armor that's on the skirt as well. So that way I have all the armor pieces done. And so that's what I use. I use the burnt sienna as well as antique white to get those parts done. Alright, so once that part is over with, now we go into the finer details in the miniature. So we have the cloth, as well as the shoulder done in antique white from Apple Barrel Paints. We have the leather done with the burnt sienna. Now it's time to move on to the smaller details. And the next detail that we go with, as you can see here, is all the black colors. We went with the scabbard as well as the joints in both the back of the knee here. You can kind of see it a little bit. There we go. So you have the back of the knee as well as a little bit in the elbow. And the perfect color to use for that one is actually not really black. What I use is this color here. It's Pavement by Apple Barrel Paints. What pavement is, it's not black. What it is it's a really, really, really dark gray. That's what it is. All right, so the idea is that if you actually have a base painted unit that's done in black and you dry brush with this pavement color, it actually gives you a nice little detail on there, a little bit of a dry brushing detail on it. It's a nice real color to kind of break up things. So I use pavement for that because I don't want to make it completely black. So that way you can still see a little bit of detail on it as well. So then after that, we go on to the mane as well as the handles of the hammer as well as the handle of the dagger. To do that, we use magenta, just this old bottle of bright magenta from Apple Barrel. Like I said before, these paints are pretty cheap. I believe the folk art paint costs about 70 cents a tube. The Cerbar coat, I believe, cost me 75 cents, I think. And each of these Apple Barrel paints cost me 50 cents. So you can see how the money is actually starting to save up on this project. So I used the bright magenta in order to take care of that. So as you can see, I painted the mane as well as the handles of the weapons. Gives a nice like bright color to pop. I then also use the Territorial beige color. I use that from Apple Barrel Paints to do the last bit, which is on the parchment here. As you can see here, we got little bits of parchment coming off the guy's belt, and that's what I use for that one as well. So pretty simple. You use pavement, antique white, bright magenta, as well as Territorial beige for all the detail pieces. Alright, so now we have the base coat done. We save a good amount of money on that one using a $3 spray versus a $20 can of spray. We used a whole variety of different base paints to paint, did all the base coating on that, and each of these costs are between 75 to 50 cents to do that, as opposed to $5 to $6 per tub of specialty paints made by different companies. Now that we're done with all the base paints, now it's time to move on to metallic colors. So as you can see here, we have silver that's done the Warhammer, as in with the scales on the armor. We also have a lot of gold on his armor as well. In order to do that, I use metallic paints, the metallic paint range from Folk Art. These ones are a little bit more expensive than the other tubes of paint that we're using. These ones have been anywhere between 50 to 75 cents. These ones run you about $1, $1.25. So like I said before, a little bit more expensive, but not that much now in comparison to other metallic paints that are made by other companies. For the silver paints, it's pretty simple. I use this one right here, which is Silver Anniversary, made by Folk Art. It's a nice kind of bright gunmetal type of paint color. So I use that for both the scales on the skirt as well as on the hammer for itself, for the Warhammer. We're going to tilt this guy so you can see a little better. And the Warhammer there as well. Put a single coat on there so that way it just has like a light kind of silvery color. And then for all the gold accents, which this miniature has quite a bit on the knee pad, the belt buckle, also on the shoulder pads, the borders of the pauldron, the forearm gauntlet, the little detail piece on the top of the hammer, and most importantly, the shield, as you can see there. To make that gold, what I actually use was two other Folk Art paints. I use what's called pure gold as well as copper. Now, pure gold is a nice bright gold, while copper is, well, it's a copper color. I mean, go figure, right? But the problem is that neither one of those actually kind of matches this same kind of shade of gold that's on this armor. So in order to do this, what I actually did is I cut the paints a little bit, I mixed them a little bit. I took 3 drops of pure gold and mixed it with 1 drop of copper. And when you combine it together, made this kind of rich kind of golden, like a burnt gold color that came out really, really nice from the miniature. And so because of that, I painted all the gold accents, as you can see, using that combination on the scabbard, the belt buckle, the grip, the accent piece on the Warhammer, also the shoulder pads, as well as the shield as well. Probably the shield is like the most important part because it covers most of the miniature as well. So that part was really, really cool. So once again, used really cheap paints in order to do that. Came out with an awesome result. So now that we got the base coats done as well as the shades, the metals, the next thing we got to talk about now is how we go about shading this miniature. Alright, so up to this point we've talked about all the base coats. So we got the sprays, all the base layers that we used for it. Have a really good looking miniature at this point. Now the thing that you got to do now is combine all these colors together and also kind of bring the colors down to the detail. The problem with the quick paint method is when you're painting up your miniatures using the quick paint method, it's going to look very bright, it's also going to look very plain. And the reason why is because you haven't used any washes of any sort to bring out the detail, kind of like the creases in the chest plate as well as in the armor grooves and things like that. There's a lot of smooth surfaces on this miniature as well as a lot of deep crevices. And to make these colors pop and to actually show those details, you need to put some kind of oil no wash on it. Now in the quick shade method, quick paint method, they actually suggest that you use like Army Painter's quick shade in order to do that. You usually use the strong tone in order to bring all the colors together and also bring out the depth of the miniature. But the problem is that stuff costs about $30 a can in order to do that. So instead of that, and that's like only like an 8-ounce can too, instead of that we use this stuff here, which is Minwax by Polyshades by Minwax. This is the Mission Oak color. I did a video talking about this stuff and using this as a cost-saving alternative to using Army Painter's Quick Shade Strong Tone, and this stuff works just as well. All you need to do is cut whatever mixture you're going to use for your oils from this. So you cut it by a quarter, so 3 parts Minwax Polyshade Mission Oak with 1 part paint thinner. That's the formula. 3 parts Polyshade, 1 part paint thinner. It gives it a nice consistency as well as enough of a darkness to it. And then what you do, of course, is you paint that stuff all over the miniature, every single surface that you have on it. Make sure you cover it all at once, and make sure you cover it all in one go, because this stuff does dry very quickly. And if you try to paint it over and you take a break, you walk away and come back again, it's going to come out blotchy and it's going to look kind of weird as well. Now another nice feature about the Minwax Polyshades is that it doesn't require 24 hours for it to dry and to cure, unlike the quick shade. This stuff is very, very quick, and so because of that, you need about maybe 2 hours, I think is what it takes for this stuff to finally dry out for the miniature. So after 2 hours, you're pretty much done, and then your miniature will have all the washes done, all the base coats done, and all the thing you need to do now is to matte spray it with some matte varnish, as well as to base it. We're going to talk about that next. Okay, so at this point now we're done with all the base coats, with all the colors in the background. We've actually gone through the Minwax Polyshade, and we've also shaded it. Now what we need to do next is now we need to flatten and take away the sheen. Like we talked about last time when I did my quick shade video showing the difference between the Army Painter quick shade as well as the Minwax Polyshades. No matter what product you use in the end, the models got a really nice kind of candy shiny kind of coat to it, right? And the reason why is because the oils are involved in both of those products, right? Either polyurethane or some kind of oil mixture causes that shininess to take place. So in order to get rid of that sheen, what you need to do is you need to spray this with a type of matte finish or matte varnish in order to kind of, deaden that sheen a little bit. The product I use, because it saves a lot of money to do it, is this stuff, which is Krylon Matte Finish, for 2 reasons. One, it does a really good job bringing down the matte on it, so because of that, it takes away the shine almost instantly, and also does really good at suppressing that shine, so that way it just looks like it's a normally texture painted miniature, and also because it's super cheap. Some videos out there will tell you to use Testor's matte finish. While that stuff looks pretty good, it works exactly the same as the Krylon, except that the Testor stuff runs about $20, while this one runs $3. So you're definitely saving up some money on that as well. So once you spray with the matte finish, the very last thing you need to do is base the miniature. Now a lot of painting tutorials don't tell you how to base miniatures really easily, but in my videos we talked about that a little bit. I did a video where I talked about using really cheap basing materials. What I use is just wood glue and sand. The cheapest wood glue I can find with sand that I get from the backyard of my house. Alright, don't go out there buying modeling sand, you guys. Okay, the entire earth is literally made up of different small particles of sand, so if you're trying to buy sand, that's just crazy sauce. Okay, so just go out in the backyard or find some sandboxes and then get some sand. That's what you're going to use for. So what I do is I coat the entire base with sand, with glue. Then I put a glue as well as water mixture on the top of it to help kind of seal it in and to act as a sealant for that. The next thing I do, of course, is I paint the base. Now this one's a little bit different because there's a little bit of rock on it, so we're talking about how we go about doing that real quick. So the first thing I do is I take Ivy Green paint by Apple Barrel, once again 50 cents a tube, and I use that to base coat the entire top of the base to give it like a nice kind of dark grass color to it. I then dry brush it with Palm Leaf, which is another color made by Apple Barrel, once again 50 cents a tube. Just do a quick general dry brushing on the top of it to give it some texture, and I also paint the rim in that stuff as well, so that way it matches the tabletop surface I'm gaming on. And finally, the rock that the guy sits on, so you can see in the back here. Let me see if I can show you a little bit better shot of the rock. So there's the rock right there. That one is pretty simple. All I do is I use pewter gray paint made by Apple Barrel Paint, once again 50 cents a tube. Base coat the rock in that, and then I dry brush a little bit of granite gray, and then wham, you are done with your miniature. Pretty simple, and that's exactly the paints that we use in order to do it. So with that being said, let's go and talk about the cost down real quick and talk about how much exactly each of these things will cost in the long run and how much money you can save. Alright, so with that being said, let's go and talk about some of the cost analysis that goes over with the cost to paint up a miniature. So first of all, let's start with the name brand supply list. So starting with sprays, assuming that you're buying all your products from name brand companies in order to paint up your Stormcast Eternals Celestial Vindicators, let's start with sprays. So first of all, you need McCrag Blue Spray, which costs about $19.50, as well as Tester's Matte Spray to finish it off at $10. Next, you would have paints. These are the paints that would have the prices listed for the websites that we got it from. You have Cantor Blue, Liberator Gold, Stormhost Silver. Cantor Blue is $4.25, while Liberator Gold and Stormhost Silver are $5.75. Pallid Witch Flesh, Screamer Pink, Xandri Dust, Abaddon Black, Elysian Green, Moot Green, Dawnstone, and Administratum Gray. Now all those paints cost $4.25 as well. And these are for the things like the layers that we talked about earlier, the different colors that you would have, the metals, as well as the basing on the miniature. Next after that, you would have to purchase oil wash. That would be Army Painter's Quick Shade Strong Tone. That runs you about $32 even. And then of course for the basing materials to finish out your miniature, according to Games Workshop, you should use Lustrian Undergrowth, which costs $4.25, some basing sand, which they sell for $5, and PVA glue to keep it all together for about $8. In the end, if you were to buy all your materials with name brand materials, that run you a grand total of $128, as well as 50 cents to paint up your army. Alright, so up next is the Commander CheapSkate method of quickly painting your miniatures cheaply as well as quickly. For sprays, you'll need Krylon Satin Island Splash Spray Paint, which costs you $3. Same thing with Krylon Matte Spray in order to finish it up after you get done with your oil wash. For the paints, you will need Delta's Tahiti Blue, which costs you 75 cents, as well as Folk Arts Burnt Sienna, as well as Anniversary Silver, Art Gold, as well as Copper. Now, the Burnt Sienna runs you about 75 cents, while the Anniversary Silver, the Gold, and the Copper run you about $1.50 a piece. After that, you would finish off with Apple Barrel paints using the colors of Antique White, Bright Magenta, Territorial Beige, Pavement, Ivy Green, Palm Leaf, Pewter Gray, as well as Granite Gray, and all those tubes of paints cost you 50 cents. Finally, you have to go with the oil wash. The oil wash we'd use would be Minwax Polyshades Mission Oak. That runs you $7. And then for the base for the miniature, we just use sand that we got from the backyard, which is free. Some wood glue, which costs about $3 a bottle. In the end, it would cost you a grand total of $26 in order to paint up your guys' entire army. So we're actually talking about a savings of $102 as well as 50 cents in order to paint it up. So $102.50 savings just generated by using the CheapSkate method. Alright folks, as you can see, that's how we go about painting up a Stormcast Eternals Celestial Vindicator very quickly and very easily, using some very basic and very cheap materials in order to get exactly the same kind of effect that you get from the pros using the name brand stuff. So like I said before, we can save over $120 just on using some pretty cost-effective ways in order to paint up your hobby. That's going to do it for this one, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is valuable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Google+, as well as Blogger.com for all the latest and greatest news about our hobby. That's good to do for this one, you guys. You guys stay classy. Keep on being cheap. Peace out.